As listeners, we want you to understand that the solution of business, tax, and legal issues depends on many factors, including local, state, and federal laws. Listeners' names and questions may be simulated. The show is not intended to offer business, tax, or legal advice, and Spiegel and Utrera PA, its attorneys, and Lawrence J. Spiegel recommend you seek legal advice from an attorney about your specific matter. AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. There are only two types of people, those in business and those who wish they were. Join Larry Spiegel, entrepreneur, author, and managing shareholder of Spiegel and Utrera PA, with host Joe Castello, as they tackle issues and challenges associated with starting, expanding, buying, or selling your business in today's highly competitive marketplace. It's time to start or expand your business today. And now, here's Larry Spiegel and Joe Castello.
Hello and welcome to AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. I'm Joe Castello, and we are once again joined in studio by entrepreneur, author, and managing shareholder at Spiegel and Utrera PA, Larry Spiegel. Thanks for joining us, Larry.
Well, thank you, Joe. I'm excited to be here today, and I just can't wait to field these questions that we're receiving from listeners. It's amazing, the questions that we're getting over the phone, via email. The questions they're not that easy to answer either, Joe, but I'm going to give them my best shot. I'm always amazed at the topics that we get from our listeners, and they're so varied. I can't wait to get started.
Larry, you're right. There's so many great opportunities out there for industrious people. They just need some guidance or maybe some advice along the way on how to handle those difficult situations. If you've got an entrepreneurial question out there relating to legal or business strategy, you can email it at radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com or call 800-520-7600. Leave your name, your question, and it may make it on the show. Larry, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready to go. Let's get started and see who we can help right now.
Fired up? I love it. First question coming from Donnie.
Hey, this is Donnie. I hope you can explain this clearly. I heard that if you have an S corporation, but you don't keep all your money separate between your corporate and personal accounts, and you have an issue where someone sues you, they can go after all your personal money. Is this true? Also, what do you need to prove to show that I'm keeping the money separate? Thanks for your answer. Can't wait to hear it on the show. Bye.
Well, Donnie, let me address that for you in this fashion. First of all, when we have a separate legal entity like a corporation or a limited liability company, one of the first things we want to do is open a bank account for that entity. And then we want to pass all its expenses through that bank account. Now, to the extent you did not open a bank account and have commingled your personal expenses with your corporation or LLC expenses, that is a problem. Now, it's not a problem that can't be corrected, but to correct it, you'll have to go through the thicket of all the expenses that were made, separate them, open that bank account, then do a check from the bank account to yourself to reimburse you for all the expenses which were business expenses. Now, one of the questions come up, well, gee, how does my company get money to pay those expenses? Well, initially you have to fund that money in the company. And you have two choices when you do that. You can either lend money to the company or you can invest in the company, and that's how the company gets its initial capital.
Now, a lot of businesses start out this way, Larry, where people are just kind of scrambling, and they have one account and they don't know, and bottom line, keeping good records can help a lot of those problems down the road.
Well, without a doubt, you need to have good records, but you also have to begin with a separate bank account for your corporation or limited liability company. There's no substitute for that.
So first thing you do when you get started, you got to get yourself a bank account. You're
Exactly.
going to be doing this for real. Bank account.
Exactly.
Great question, Donnie. Thank you very much, and best of luck. Got to keep things separate. I was going to say that you're just kind of out of luck, but you can go back and rectify things. That's good news.
Well, there's no question that you can rectify the situation, but you have to have a plan, go about the plan, and solve the problem. Here, the expenses that you have incurred through your own personal account need to be paid for by the company. And the best way to do that is to have the company reimburse you for those expenses. As long as you keep detailed records, those expenses will be deductible by the company.
Great question, Donnie. Thank you very much, and best of luck to you. Next one, this one regarding a non-for-profit from Michael.
Yes, my name is Michael, and I have a question regarding nonprofit companies. What is the difference between being a nonprofit, a 501c3, and a tax-exempt organization? Thank you very much for your answer. Bye.
Well, Michael, that's a good question. Many individuals use these terms interchangeably, but they do mean different things. A nonprofit generally means an entity formed and organized for a nonprofit purpose, and any money earned is retained by the organization. On the other hand, the 501c3 means an organization that has been recognized by the Internal Revenue Service as being exempt from federal income tax. Generally, those types of tax-exempt organizations are formed to carry out a charitable, religious, literary, educational, or scientific purpose. So tax exemption is merely a result of the nonprofit being recognized by the IRS as being organized for any purpose allowable under the tax code.
Michael, thanks for your email, and there are a lot of people out there trying to set up their non-for-profits right now, and you simply apply to the IRS and they can tell you yes or no. What are some of the criteria, Larry? Like, how do they decide?
Well, I wish it was that simple, Joe. It's
never that simple.
It's not that simple. You have to make application to the IRS for approval and recognition, and you do this through a very lengthy application process.
Michael, thanks for your question. Next one.
Hey guys, my name is Susan. I'm starting an internet-based business and I want to form an LLC. My question is, can I form it in any state I want? The internet is everywhere. Or do I have to form it in the state where I live? Also, what if I have partners in other states? How would that work? And I was wondering if there is one state that's better than others to form an LLC, that have better laws. Thanks for taking my question. Great show. Bye.
That's an interesting question. You can actually set up a company in any state that you would like to set one up. The situation arises as to what's your real motivation. Are you interested in asset protection? Are you interested in anonymity? What's the overriding reason? Now, many people set up these entities in the states where they are physically located. Now, the reason for that is that most states require that your company, in order to operate, be qualified to do business in that particular state. So a lot of people will avoid the idea of setting up a corporation or limited liability company in a state other than the state they reside in, because they feel they have to pay duplicate expenses to then qualify it in the state where the company is actually physically located. But having said that, there are many people who feel like the overriding advantages of asset protection, let's say, of a state like Nevada and its limited liability companies is more important and worth the additional expense. Then there's other people that feel like Delaware would be the state to set up the limited liability company or corporation because of its anonymity and the background and history that it has of business law. So it's very difficult to answer the question. Rather than saying what's the most advantageous, you have to decide what's most important to you. Take that and then apply that to all the different choices that you have out there, and you'll be able to answer the question.
You guys get a lot of stuff like that?
It's a common type of a situation that an entrepreneur has to deal with, because right in the beginning, he's got to decide, well, where am I going to set up my company? And he does, and he has heard of these different states that offer these corporations and limited liability companies, and the entrepreneur wonders why people go to these states, and is it worth it, and should I? And so it's really only through an analysis of an individual's particular circumstance that we can answer the question.
Does that make a difference, Larry, whether you're doing business on the net and thus hopefully generating business from everywhere?
Well, Joe, yes, it makes a difference, and you did hit the nail on the head, because the mindset of the entrepreneur is that he's actually in cyberspace. He's not located anywhere. But the reality of it is that he does have a physical location somewhere. Now, Does the Internet give him a choice, maybe, of where he could say his principal business location is? Perhaps it does. But will he follow through with that and set up a physical location in another state other than where he has a physical presence? Only he can answer that.
We'll be back with more of your entrepreneurial questions after this, right here on Start or Expand Your Business Today.
Start or expand your business today.
There are some mistakes in business that may cause the occasional headache. Then there are some mistakes in business that may keep you up all night for weeks and months at a time. Avoid those mistakes by seeking strategic business and legal advice from a team of attorneys ready to help you. Spiegel and Joe PA's General Counsel Club can assist you with the tough legal and business questions at crucial times. Call toll-free 800-734-9900 to receive your annual membership and be entitled to get unlimited strategic business and legal advice for a year. The General Counsel Club can assist with how to buy or sell business, converting hobby expenses into legitimate business expenses. What are legitimate business expenses for tax purposes? Tips on leasing a business location, whether for retail, office, warehouse, or industrial. Leasing versus buying options for vehicles and equipment. IRS examinations, audits, liens, levies, deficiencies, and settlements of tax disputes. Knowledge is power, and knowing that Spiegel and Joe PA's General Counsel Club is one phone call away may give you the confidence to succeed during the day and rest well at night. Call 800-734-9900 or log on to AmeriLawyer.com today.
Got a question about starting, expanding, buying, or selling your business? Email radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com. Listeners' questions may air on episodes of AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. That's radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com. Now back to Start or Expand Your Business Today.
Welcome back to AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. I'm Joe Castello with Larry Spiegel. He's the managing shareholder of Spiegel and Joe PA. Larry, we've got more questions from listeners out there.
Great to be back, Joe. Hit me.
All right. This one coming from John about starting a non-for-profit organization. Guys, thanks for answering my question. What is the process of starting a non-profit organization and tax exemption? Asks John.
All right, so to start the nonprofit organization, you must file with the state that you choose to set your nonprofit organization up in your articles of incorporation. Now, the articles of incorporation have to be specifically tailored for this concept of obtaining a tax-exempt status from the Internal Revenue Service. So let's say that all that is done properly and correctly, and we've completed certain internal documentation for the corporation. We're then in a position where we can apply to the Internal Revenue Service for our official letter of determination, in effect granting us this special tax-exempt status. Now, this process can take anywhere from 2 months to 6 months, and we encourage you to get the process going as soon as possible after you file your articles of incorporation. The reason for that is that because the application process will require you to answer a lot of questions. And the sooner you complete the application, the less information you'll have to give the Internal Revenue Service, because that information will not even be in existence yet. So it makes the process a lot easier. The longer you wait, the more time-consuming the application process will become, and correspondingly, the longer it will take to get an official determination from the Internal Revenue Service. So I would say that is your initial steps that you would take to form the nonprofit organization. Now, the granting of the tax exemption will be as a result of the documentation that's filed with the Internal Revenue Service. Now, at Spiegel and Joe PA, we're helping people every day with this process. And we understand that many entrepreneurs want to do a lot of these things themselves. And that's why we exist, and particularly at the Spiegel and Joe General Counsel Club, that we're able to assist you in completing the documentation necessary for the process.
John, thank you very much. Great question. Next one.
Yeah, hi. My name is Jen. I hear people talking about forming LLCs. I have a very small business where I make hats at home and I sell them over the internet and to my friends. I mean, it's really cool, but anyways, my sales are pretty low, and I wanted to know how big would I have to get for it to be worth forming an LLC? or is there something better if I'm really small? I don't know if I need to do anything right now, but I'm thinking for the future. So thanks. Bye.
Here's the thing. You can make money with a multi-member limited liability company or a corporation, even if it doesn't have any sales, because that business can generate tax losses. Always keep that in mind. So it really doesn't make any difference how small your business is, how low your sales are. There's still an opportunity for you to take advantage of by setting up a multi-member limited liability company or a corporation so that you can avail yourself of all the tax deductions that that business can generate, and thereby have those deductions flow to you through the magic of the flow-through concept of the multi-member limited liability company or the S corporation.
And thus you can continue to make your hats, and then maybe someday she will be making money with it.
Well, the idea is that we take this idea of am I big enough out of the equation, because you're always big enough. And that allows me to get started with my branding, the utilization of my company, and everything else associated with it. But this decision is not made on the size of the company or the size of my business or the volume of my business, because we want to do it from the get-go. We want to protect ourselves from liability also.
Great question, Susan. Thank you very much. Final question this segment. Quick one coming from Leanne.
Hi, this is Leanne. I want to know how many people are needed to start a nonprofit. Is there a minimum? If I don't hear my answer on the show, where can I get my answer? Thank you. Bye.
Well, Leanne, in most states, 3 people are required to be directors of a nonprofit corporation. Now, compare that to a regular profit corporation, where in most states, 1 person can be everything. You might ask why. Well, the states feel like they have an interest in a nonprofit corporation, and they're not willing to allow 1 person to be everything in a nonprofit corporation. They want to see that the benevolent purpose, whatever it may be, of the nonprofit is being carried out. And they've decided that, generally speaking, 3 directors are required for that purpose. There is a fiction in the law that the states have some interest in these nonprofit corporations. They give you these special powers. You're then able to take those special powers, bootstrap them up to a tax-exempt status, and they feel like they want to be sure you're carrying out your nonprofit purpose. Now, mind you, I didn't talk about the amount of your administrative expenses or your salary, but the purpose. So they want to be sure the purpose is being carried out. And this is one of the things that they use to rely on that.
Great question, Leanne. Best of luck. And if you've got a question that we could use here on our show, radio show at AmeriLawyer.com, while you're on the site, check it out. There's lots of great information depending on what state you're in and what question you have. Or you could call 800-520-7600 and leave your question for Larry and your name, and we may use it on the air as we continue to help people out there start or expand their businesses. We'll be back and take more of your entrepreneurial questions after this, right here on AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today.
AmeriLawyer.com.
Start or expand your business today. Form your corporation for as little as $104.95. Each corporation is complete and includes state filing fees, corporation records book, corporate seal, articles of incorporation, corporate bylaws, corporate minutes, stock certificates, preliminary name search, and attorney's fees. Spiegel and Joe PA and AmeriLawyer.com can also help you with assumed or fictitious business names, advising on legitimate business expenses for tax purposes, discussing the converting of personal expenses into deductible business expenses, assisting you in developing a service agreement for your business, answering your questions on the advantages of minority-owned business certification, explaining the differences between a corporation and a limited liability company, and the benefits of creating either a regular corporation, S corporation, or a limited liability company. Knowledge is power. Order over the phone at 800-603-3900. That's 800-603-3900, or online at AmeriLawyer.com.
Got a question about starting, expanding, buying, or selling your business? Call 800-520-7600. Just leave your name and your question. Listeners' questions may air on episodes of AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. That's 800-520-7600. Now back to Start or Expand Your Business Today.
And we're back with AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. Joe Castello and Larry Spiegel. Now, Larry, we've answered a lot of questions. We've heard from a lot of people out there. It sounds like people are making moves to seize opportunity that is out there in the world today.
Without a doubt, we see it every day. There's lots of activity going on. Don't be dissuaded. Move forward.
Attack, baby, attack. And there is opportunity out there. And if you've got a question, radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com. Send us your question. We'll use it on the air. That's radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com, or call 800-520-7600. Leave your name and your question, and we may use it on the show. Next question, this one coming from Ronald regarding another 501c3.
Yes, hi, my name is Ronald, and I currently have a 501c3 corp at the church. We've received our official letter of termination from the IRS, so we're good there. Recently, within a mile of the church, it's right down the road. There's a beautiful cathedral for sale. My question is, may our church purchase the cathedral without affecting our status? Thanks again, and have a great day. Bye.
Absolutely, Ron. It's an opportunity to seize upon, but let's think about how we might go about doing this that would be advantageous. So we would never recommend at Spiegel and Joe PA that you put any kind of real estate or real property in a nonprofit corporation. But we still do want to acquire the cathedral, so what we would recommend is that you set up a multi-member limited liability company, you acquire the cathedral, then go ahead and lease the cathedral to the nonprofit from the multi-member limited liability company. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. First of all, the rent that the church will pay to the multi-member limited liability company for the cathedral will be income to the multi-member limited liability company, but that will be offset by the depreciation on the cathedral and any interest expense the multi-member limited liability company has on financing the cathedral. But the real plus of putting this in a multi-member limited liability company will be the continuing appreciation of the cathedral over time, so that the appreciated value of the cathedral will not end up with the church, but will rather end up with the multi-member limited liability company. So this is the way that we would go about acquiring the cathedral. Now, it is important to note that the transaction between the church and the multi-member limited liability company has to be at fair market value, may be substantiated by an appraisal, and at an arm's length transaction with full disclosure. But if you meet those requirements, you can take advantage of this opportunity and create this income for the multi-member limited liability company, which is carved out of the church.
Ronald, great question. Best of luck with the new cathedral. Got time for one more question, I think, today. This one coming from Johnny.
Hey, I heard you guys on the radio. This is Johnny, by the way. Listen, I formed an LLC for my work from home business. Is it a waste of money to also carry liability insurance for my products? I still need that. Thanks.
That's a difficult question, Johnny, because there are varying degrees of concern by entrepreneurs about liability. I don't know what your products are, but if your business, for example, has what I call a commercial business package policy, probably for a little bit more money you can add a product's liability coverage to that policy. And if you don't have the commercial business package policy, I don't think you're a candidate for product's liability insurance if you don't have already a commercial liability insurance policy where you can readily add the product's liability. And I say that because you haven't given enough thought to liability insurance. Now, this product, if it's dangerous, of course you'd want to insure it. And if it's not dangerous, you may not. So within that entire spectrum is the answer to whether or not you need it.
And so let's assume the product is dangerous. Is that something that he might have insurance to keep the people who are buying his product safe from claims? Like, how does that work?
Well, I would think that in that example you would have products liability insurance, and it flows from your general commercial package that you would have. So yes, there you would definitely have it. If you were in the business of selling guns, you'd probably have it also. But if you were selling scarves, it may not be important.
Johnny, thanks for your email. I think we could squeeze in one more, Larry. You ready?
Shoot.
This one from Cindy.
Hello. I have a question for Larry. If my husband forms an LLC and puts all his profits and money, into an account in the LLC's name, and then we get a divorce, obviously this is the worst case. But can I go after the LLC's money, or am I just out of luck?
And a little window into the world of Cindy. I hope Mr. Cindy isn't listening right now.
It's not that difficult of a question to answer, but on the one hand, the likelihood of directly seizing the money in the LLC is probably not going to happen. On the other hand, in any divorce proceeding in the United States pretty much, whether you happen to live in an equitable distribution state or a community property state, the court is going to value that limited liability company. And in that valuation process, it's going to be done for all the assets that are in the marriage. And from that, then the court will decide who gets what. And the idea is, generally speaking, to balance those values and divide them. So you won't end up with the money that's in the LLC, but you may end up with the house or some other assets that make up for that. I hope I've answered your question for you.
Best of luck to you, Cindy. Yeah, it sounds a little dicey right there.
Well, we could get into a discussion about equitable distribution, community property. We could talk about Louisiana. They have civil law. But the idea is everywhere, this is the balancing of these assets. And there are many other issues involved. What's the length of the marriage? How many children are there? How old are the parties? Does the wife work? So there's a whole host of issues. But generally speaking, the courts are going to balance all these things and divide the assets. And usually they're going to divide them 50-50.
And now it's time for Larry's final thought of the week.
Joe, this has come around so quickly. We're already at the end of the show?
Yes.
Well, what I'd like to throw out on the table today is procrastination. I think that in and of itself is probably one of the greatest enemies of any entrepreneur. And there are many, many ways to avoid success in business, but that's probably the number one. So my thought today would be, do not allow procrastination to sabotage you and your business. Take on these obstacles that you see that are problematic, deal with them, and move on. I think that all of us have gone through an experience where we have put something off, perhaps a little longer than we should have, but then when we did it, we found, gee, that wasn't so bad after all. I think we need to just move right through everything as if we were a snowplow, get everything done, and do not allow that terrible word to rear its ugly head in our path. So we're right back to planning our work and working our plan, but do it consistently.
Do not procrastinate, folks. Attack that problem, and you will find the solution. Larry, great job as usual. Appreciate you getting together, answering the questions of these folks, putting them on the right path.
I had a great time. Thank you.
He's Larry Spiegel. I'm Joe Castello, and this is AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today. If you have a question, remember, you can email radioshow@AmeriLawyer.com. Email us your question. We'll use it on the show, or call 800-520-7600. And we'll see you next time right here on AmeriLawyer.com presents Start or Expand Your Business Today.
AmeriLawyer.com, where understanding your business is our business.
There are some mistakes in business that may cause the occasional headache. Then there are some mistakes in business that may keep you up all night for weeks and months at a time. Avoid those mistakes by seeking strategic business and legal advice from a team of attorneys ready to help you. Spiegel and Joe PA's General Counsel Club can assist you with the tough legal and business questions at crucial times. Call toll-free 800-734-9900 to receive your annual membership and be entitled to get unlimited strategic business and legal advice for a year. The General Counsel Club can assist with selecting a legal and tax structure for your business, building business credit, when a trust should own your corporation or limited liability company. What are the benefits of forming a corporation or limited liability company? What are the differences between a corporation and limited liability company? Using employees versus independent contractors. Knowledge is power, and knowing that Spiegel and Joe PA's General Counsel Club is one phone call away may give you the confidence to succeed during the day and rest well at night. Call 800-734-9900 or log on to AmeriLawyer.com today.